Everyone's had that moment playing Mario Party. The game just started, everybody picked a character and board, now the dice is spinning over your head. And you wonder if the die roll you're about to make is actually random, or if there's some trick to stopping it on the number you want. Or maybe the game even had the number picked before you hit the button. We actually touched on this topic back in 2016 with a tweet about Mario Party's dice being predetermined. Although we were pretty convinced the tweet was accurate, it garnered a lot of disagreement and skepticism as to whether the dice were rigged. So we figured we'd revisit the subject and try digging up a more definitive answer by doing some tests and talking to experts. So let's investigate if there's really some secret technique to Mario Party's dice, if it's just dumb luck, or find out if the dice are actually rigged. In a game of Mario Party, a good die roll can mean the difference between winning and losing. If you roll the highest dice at the start, you'll take your turn first for the entire game, giving you first dibs on buying stars before anyone else, and reacting to changes on the game board. And of course, good rolls each turn let you move farther on the board and give you more to work with. So as you can see, it's worth understanding how the dice actually work in Mario Party games. In the original Mario Party, the dice spins over your head until you jump and stop it with the A button. The game lets you decide when to jump, so most fans assume this agency means they have some control over their own destiny. And with proper timing, it looks like you can stop the dice on any number you want. But is that actually true? To see if this was the case, we investigated whether skill was involved by testing if identical circumstances yielded identical results. To do this, we'd use an emulator for easier testing and comb over videos frame by frame to confirm the timing. We'd also only look at standard dice in Mario Party. Over the series' history, there have been many gimmick dice that let players influence how far they move in a turn. There's also different kinds of rolls, such as the chance time, where players could steal or lose stars and coins. So to keep things simple, we're only running tests on the basic rolls. When we recorded our tests with the emulator, we managed to hit the A button on the exact same frame quite a few times. For accuracy's sake, we did this across a 50-turn game and reloaded the same saved playthrough from the start with the same characters and board, replaying it several times, and observed if the frame-perfect hits stopped the dice on the same numbers. We not only looked at hits that were an exact number of frames from the start of the dice scene, but also hits that lined up with visual cues, such as every jump that took off when the die showed a 6. If we got the same number every time for either of these parameters, it would suggest there is in fact skill involved, but that's not what we found. The resulting numbers from all the turns were completely random. No matter when we hit the A button, it had no influence whatsoever on the roll of the dice. In other words, the element of skill seems to be just an illusion, probably implemented because the developers thought it was more fun to hit a die than just seeing random numbers appear. But that brings us to our next point. Are the numbers actually random? Well, sort of, but in more absolute terms, no, not at all. Mario Party's dice rolls are determined by a random number generator, also known as RNG. Despite the name, RNG doesn't generate truly random numbers. It's a computer program that actually brings up numbers that appear to be random. Computers have a hard time producing truly random numbers, since they're basically just machines that follow commands. So instead, they rely on RNG formulas that essentially cycle through predetermined lists of possible results. In other words, if you play long enough, you'll get the same series of dice rolls again and again, as the cycle eventually repeats itself. Manipulating RNG in a game is possible. Maybe you've seen it done for world building in Minecraft or for catching shinies in Pokemon. It's even been found in games like Super Mario 64 that the RNG formula used to determine things like a Goomba's walk direction or how a coin falls uses somewhat simplistic variables. Unfortunately, however, although it's theoretically possible to work out what dice rolls will come up, even the world's best Mario Partiers haven't figured out how to manipulate the dice. Did You Know Gaming spoke with world record speedrunner Airshock22, who told us, in a game like Mario Party, RNG is an invisible force that players are subjected to. Unfortunately, as of making this video, there doesn't seem to be a consistent way to manipulate it like other N64 titles. In the original Mario Party, the game actually determines the roll of the dice on the results screen of a minigame. So instead of deciding the dice rolls one by one, and at different times, the game actually decides all 4 players at once. By reloading save files at particular instances, we can see that no matter how long each player waits on the dice rolling screen, the result will always be the same. In other words, Mario Party's dice are in fact predetermined. You can't control them with timed jumps, and they're not random either. Essentially, they're rigged. In the original Mario Party, the dice are predetermined at the end of the minigame results screen, meaning nothing between the last game and the next can influence the dice roll. No matter how long you wait to roll in the original Mario Party, you cannot change the outcome of the dice. Or at least that's the case for the original Mario Party on Nintendo 64. But what about all the sequels? We also investigated Mario Parties 2 through 10, the handheld parties, and finally Super Mario Party on Switch, and we discovered the 4 forces that govern their dice are different in each game, except Mario Party DS, which actually follows the same rules as the original, despite being made about 10 games after. Going back to the N64, Mario Party 2 and 3 use a more sophisticated system, where the RNG is continually recalculated while the player waits to hit the A button and stop the dice. To confirm, we repeated the same experiment we did with the first game, and analyzed footage frame by frame, and also spoke with some seasoned Mario Partiers who provided further confirmation. We noticed that the number that was displayed on the dice whenever the player hits it, and the number that's used for the actual rolling is usually different. We spoke with Zoomzyke, a passionate Mario Party analyst who provided further confirmation. Zoomzyke told us, "The shuffling numbers you see aren't accurate reflections of the computations the game is running on your dice block. There's no skill or timing involved, as you can't even see what number the game will give you. But they're certainly less rigged than Mario Party 1 and Mario Party DS, as players have some sort of control over them. The dice mechanics in Mario Party 4 through 8 appear to be a little different, but in reality they're the same as Mario Party 2 and 3. Instead of the numbers on the dice changing 30 times a second, they only change 10 times a second, except for Mario Party 8 where they change 15 times a second. The slower speed makes you think you've got a more realistic chance of stopping the dice on the number you want, but the results are still 100% determined by the RNG. Even with frame-perfect inputs, it's impossible to hit the dice on a specific number. This is because the dice don't stop until the end of your jump animation, which takes longer than 1/10 of a second, and since the numbers don't loop in any recognizable pattern, the results are entirely out of your control. In some cases, your jump animation can take up to 500 milliseconds, which depending on the game, could mean the numbers on the dice will change 5 additional times before you can actually touch them. Since the number changes aren't in a discernible pattern, the number you roll is de facto random. Mario Party Advance is pretty unique in terms of gameplay and its dice roll. The handheld title is notable, as it's the only Mario Party that's really designed for a single-player experience. Because of this, we thought for sure that the dice would be different in this title. After investigating it, we discovered that Mario Party Advance has random rolls as well, with a major caveat. At the very start, the game guarantees to give you high rolls to help you get through the game's single-player tutorial. Once you're through that tutorial, though, the game uses pure RNG, letting you learn the ropes before throwing you in the deep end. Mario Party 6 is pretty unique, or at least it pretends to be. The game came bundled with a microphone, and in-game hints claim that shouting a number into the mic during solo mode will influence the dice rolls, but some speedrunners we spoke with insist that shouting into the mic doesn't actually produce any noticeable results, and we had the exact same experience playing the game ourselves. So instead of innovating the series with a new shout for luck mechanic, it appears Mario Party 6 is just the game that works the hardest to give a false sense of dice control. Mario Party 9 on Wii, Mario Party 10 on the Wii U, and Island Tour on 3DS introduced physics-based dice. In 9 and 10, after you hit the dice, it falls from the sky and rolls around the screen. And in Tour, you flick the dice from the bottom screen and it rolls up to the top screen. But in both games, the results are still determined by RNG. They've just got a new way of delivering pseudo-random numbers in a way that looks like you've got some control over the situation. But it's still just an illusion, although arguably a more satisfying one. As for Super Mario Party on Switch, there was a popular rumor started in a YouTube video that claimed you could guarantee high rolls by listening and reacting to a key sound while the dice is rolling. We were skeptical, so we tested the theory ourselves, but we couldn't reproduce the results alleged in the video. So we reached out to speedrunner AirShock22 again, who'd done some tests of his own. He said, "Imagine the dice rolling audio like a wave or bell curve. The top of the bell curve is the highest in pitch in the audio. I hit the dice block in approximately the same place near the top of the bell curve every time. I got different numbers each time. It seems that even the rumor video doesn't hit the dice at consistent points. Sometimes it's at the top, but other times he will hit it when there's barely any audio. He's just selecting all the clips of him getting high numbers and claiming he hit it at the top of the audio cue. From what I can see, the sound theory is debunked and is not true. In reality, Super Mario Party utilizes a similar formula as 2 through 8, with the RNG continually recalculating before you stop the die. Although the game is different from the earlier games due to every character having their own unique dice with different values. As each character has different probabilities, there's actually a dice tier list, which means some characters roll higher numbers on average, like Wario and Daisy, while others roll lower numbers, like Yoshi and Rosalina, so at least there's some strategy there. From what we found, not a single dice roll in the entire series actually involves any skill whatsoever. No amount of timing, listening to audio cues, or shouting into a microphone gives you any control over your own destiny. And the dice rolls aren't truly random either. Instead, they rely on artificial randomness produced by different systems of RNG that vary in complexity. But to be fair, that's how pretty much every video game operates. Some dice are just flat out predetermined, especially early in the series, but later games with more sophisticated RNG produced results that were arguably less predetermined. Whether you want to call Mario Party's dice rigged or not depends on the game, and if you want to get philosophical about it, the term rigged is sort of in the eye of the beholder. We hope you found our research interesting, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and share it on social media. We're trying something new with this video, and if you enjoyed it, we'd really appreciate your support. And if you're interested in hearing more facts about Mario, check out the videos on screen. Thanks again to Airshock22 for coming on and talking about this topic. You can check out their Twitch for Mario Party speedruns.